He could not read a single word of the warrant in his hand. Not the name, not the charge, not the date it was issued. He had them read aloud to him, over and over, until each one lodged in his memory. Then he rode out into 75,000 square miles of the most lawless country in the United States, and he brought the men back. Over 32 years, he arrested more than 3,000 people. He was shot at constantly, had his hat and his belt shot off him, and was never once wounded. He is the most effective lawman the American frontier ever produced. And for most of the 20th century, he did not appear in its history at all. This is the story of Bass Reeves. He was born in July of 1838 in Crawford County, Arkansas, and he was born owned. His first name came from his grandfather, Bass Washington. His surname came from the man who held legal title to him, William Steele Reeves, an Arkansas farmer. When Bass was around 8 years old, the family moved south into Grayson County, Texas. He grew up as the personal servant of the owner's son, George Reeves, a man who would go on to sit in the Texas legislature and rise to become Speaker of its House. When the Civil War came, George Reeves rode for the Confederacy, and Bass went with him, not as a soldier, as property. Somewhere in those years, the two men fell out. The account that has come down says it happened over a card game, and that Bass knocked the younger Reeves to the floor and did not stop. Whether it happened precisely that way, no surviving record can confirm. What is certain is that Bass Reeves ran, and that for a man in his position, running carried a death sentence. He went north and west, across the line, into Indian Territory. The territory was not empty country. It was the sovereign land of the Cherokee, the Creek, the Seminole, the Choctaw, and the Chickasaw, nations that had been marched there at gunpoint a generation before. Bass Reeves lived among them for years. He learned to speak their languages. He learned which bend of which river held which family, which trails flooded in spring, which cabins would feed a stranger, and which would shoot one. He was hiding. But he was also, without knowing it, being trained. In 1865, the 13th Amendment ended the thing that had defined the first 27 years of his life. Bass Reeves walked out of Indian Territory a free man. He bought land near Van Buren, Arkansas, and farmed it. He married a woman named Nellie Jenny. They had 10 children. For a decade, he was, by every account, an ordinary and rather successful farmer. Then, in 1875, the federal government ran out of options. Indian Territory had become a sanctuary for every fugitive in the surrounding states. Tribal courts held no jurisdiction over non-native criminals, and the nearest federal authority was hundreds of miles away. Men committed murder in Texas or Missouri, crossed the line, and simply stopped being pursued. Washington sent Judge Isaac Parker to Fort Smith, Arkansas, to end it. Parker's court held jurisdiction over 75,000 square miles of country. He ordered the hiring of 200 deputy United States marshals. And someone in Fort Smith remembered a farmer near Van Buren who knew the territory better than any white lawman alive, and who could question a witness in 3 native languages. Bass Reeves was sworn in as a deputy United States Marshal. He was among the first black men ever to hold that commission west of the Mississippi River. The work was this: ride into the territory with a wagon, a cook, and a posseman, carry a stack of federal warrants, stay out for weeks, sometimes months, find the men named on the paper, bring them back alive to Fort Smith to stand trial. 65 deputy marshals were killed doing that job. Reeves stood around 6 feet 2. He was reportedly barred from competitive turkey shoots because the result was never in doubt, and he could shoot accurately with either hand. He rode a large red horse, wore a black hat, and was known for tipping it politely to men he was in the process of arresting. Over his career, he killed 14 men. Every one of those killings was examined, and every one was found to have been in defense of his own life. But his real weapon was neither the rifle nor the revolver. It was patience and disguise. He worked as a drifter, a farmhand, a cowboy, an outlaw. He would ride into a settlement filthy and apparently unarmed and spend 2 days being nobody at all, listening. The most celebrated instance involved 2 brothers wanted for murder, hiding at their mother's house near the Red River. Reeves covered the last 28 miles on foot, dressed in rags, wearing a battered hat he had personally shot 3 holes through. He knocked on the door and asked for food. The mother fed him. He told her he was running from the law himself. She suggested he wait for her sons and ride out with them. He slept in their house that night. Before dawn, he had both men in handcuffs. He walked them the entire distance back toward Fort Smith, with their mother following behind, cursing him for miles. In 1884, his posse cook, a man named William Leach, was shot dead in camp. Reeves said his rifle had discharged while he was cleaning it. He was charged with murder and tried in Judge Parker's own courtroom. He hired the finest attorney he could find and spent very nearly everything he had. The jury acquitted him. He went back to work. Then, years later, a warrant reached the Muskogee office that nobody wanted to serve. A man named Benny Reeves was charged with murdering his wife. Benny Reeves was Bass Reeves's son. The marshal in charge stood holding the paper. The other deputies looked at the floor. Bass Reeves asked for it. He said the warrant was his to serve, and that he would bring the man in himself. He was gone 2 weeks. He came back with his son in custody. Benny was convicted and sent to Leavenworth. In 1907, Oklahoma became a state, and the federal court system that had employed Bass Reeves for 32 years was dissolved out from under him. The new state legislature moved immediately to write segregation into law. Reeves was 68 years old. He had arrested more than 3,000 people across a territory the size of a small country. He was given a job as a patrolman with the Muskogee Police Department, walking a downtown beat on foot. It was said that while he walked it, there was no crime on his beat at all. He served 2 years. He died on the 12th of January, 1910, of Bright's disease. He was 71. And then the country he had spent his life policing forgot him almost entirely. The dime novels and the picture houses that built the legend of the American West had room for Wyatt Earp. They had room for Wild Bill Hickok and for Billy the Kid. They had no room at all for a black federal marshal who could not read. There is a story you may have heard. A masked lawman, a native companion, a great pale horse, silver left behind as a calling card. A number of historians have argued that Bass Reeves is the man the Lone Ranger was quietly built from, but nobody who created that character ever said so, and no document has ever proven it. It is a theory. It should be held as one, and in the end, it is beside the point. The truth does not need a borrowed hero to carry it. For roughly 70 years, Bass Reeves was almost completely absent from the popular history of the frontier. He was recovered only in recent decades by historians working line by line through the old Fort Smith court records, where, as it turns out, his name is everywhere. 3,000 arrests set down in a hand that was never his own. He never read a single one of them. And today, in West Texas, there is a county named Reeves. It is not named for Bass, it is named for George Reeves, the man who owned him.